My father wanted to mend things with me. After years of neglect, I made a PowerPoint presentation explaining in detail why I will never forgive him. I'm 24. My mom died of leukemia when I was 7. I have very few memories of her from before she got sick. In the last year of her life, we hardly spent any time together. She was an artist and, as long as she could, she made me little hospital collages with drawings, photos, and messages. After she died, my grandmother collected them all into one book. I wanted to be like my mom, and my therapist thought it would help. So I started keeping a journal, doing something similar. Ever since my mom died, I've written at least 1 page a week, sometimes more, when I missed her especially badly or was going through something hard. As a result, I have a pretty unique chronicle of my mental state over the past 16 years. My dad remarried when I was 9. My stepmother was very pushy about, "Now I'm your mom," and my dad didn't stop her. It got better when their son, my half-brother, was born, because she basically forgot about me then. Unfortunately, when my brother was 3, he was diagnosed with cancer. I practically stopped existing for my father. He was either working or with my brother, and I spent all my teen years either home alone or with my grandparents. The family's main mantra was that my brother needed more attention because he might die, and I shouldn't be selfish since I was healthy. I stopped trying to talk to my dad when I was 16, and that was a very dark time for me. When I turned 18, I moved out and cut contact completely. My grandparents told me my brother died a few years ago. They respected my wish not to talk to my dad. But recently my father reached out to them because he wants to see me and talk. I looked through my old journals and made a PowerPoint for him with photos of entries where I wrote about my pain, feeling abandoned and unwanted. Some slides had direct quotes of things my father said to me during fights. I even included very dark things from the time I was severely depressed. I ended the presentation with a photo of one of my mom's collages where she had written, "Remember that Dad and I are always with you." Underneath I added, "You blew it. Disappear." I felt that this way my dad could literally see my point of view and understand much better why I don't want him back in my life than if I just tried to explain it in words. Obviously, it worked a little too well, because now relatives are flooding me with messages saying that although it's understandable why I don't want to see my father, the presentation I sent broke him. He's very down after watching it, and they say it was excessively cruel on my part. Maybe that's true. I know I sometimes have odd ideas about the boundaries of harshness, so maybe I did something terrible. Edited. A few additional clarifications since these came up in comments. I love my brother. I don't hold anything against him. He was a good kid, and I wish he were still alive. None of this was his fault. In my eyes, this is entirely my father's fault and, to a lesser extent, my stepmother's. My parents wouldn't let me spend time with my brother when he was sick, so even if I could have been around, and by the end I couldn't, because I was just trying to survive, they still wouldn't have let me near him. I am capable of empathy. I understand that my father lost a wife and a son, because I was there and lost those people too. Plus, I effectively lost my father as well. However, in my view, there is no excuse for completely erasing your own child from your life and not even giving them the chance to get help. I know very well what depression and numbness feel like. I've lived it. But even as a child, I could still account for the consequences of my behavior for other people. If it was that bad for him, he should have let someone else raise me. My mom's parents asked him to let me live with them full-time. He refused. I could have had a father who at least occasionally told me he loved me. Or I could have lived with my grandparents and seen people who cared about me every day, even if it wasn't my dad. Instead, I got neither. Every request for help was met with the same answer: accept it. I can understand what it's like to be forced to function while everything's crumbling inside, but I cannot understand what he did. From relatives who have now stopped pressuring me since I set hard boundaries, I learned that my dad and stepmother recently split and are in the process of divorcing. That's why he tried to contact me now, and that's why other family members fell out over my reaction. He was already in a bad way. I told my relatives that if they actually care about him, they should convince him to leave me alone, refuse to pass along any messages, and try to get him inpatient treatment if they're genuinely worried he might do something rash. I want nothing to do with him, and I said I don't want to hear anything about what's happening with him. But the rest of the family loves him, so I hope for their sake he pulls himself together. Comments: You're not the asshole. If the truth hurts your father, that's his problem, not yours. You did the right thing. You explained your feelings to your father, and he understood that he failed as a parent. The fact that he neglected you is not your fault. He's hurting because he understands that everything you wrote in the presentation is the plain truth about how he treated you when you were just a child. Now that the truth is out, I hope you can let go of at least some of your anger toward him and understand you're not responsible for his actions. I also cut off my father and found peace without him. I hope you can too. You're not the asshole, but it was harsh. I could just picture the "you fucked up" popping up at the end of the presentation like the "you died" screen in Dark Souls. Is your heart really so hardened that there's no room for forgiveness? When my kids were little, the younger one, under a year old, had kidney failure, I'm sure because a doctor prescribed a dangerous antibiotic to his mother during pregnancy. We had to constantly leave our 4-year-old with friends. All our relatives lived far away, and we were stretched thin because my ex-wife spent most of her time with our sick child and I worked. It ended well, but I still feel guilty that we basically offloaded the older kid onto other people. We had limited physical time and emotional resources. Things are mostly fine now, but every so often the older one lets us know those events left a mark. He doesn't blame his brother, though they hardly talk now, and I don't know how to heal those wounds. At the time we did all we could, but there just wasn't enough of us for 2 children, especially with the hospital far away. We tried our best. Opie, you have a chance to get back the parent you lost. Some people would give anything for that chance. Don't miss it before it's too late, even if all it does is confirm how you feel now. But if you don't try, you'll lie awake every night thinking about your father when he's gone. Regret is brutal. There's no instruction manual for parenting. Every family is different. You're not wrong, and he's not entirely a monster either. That's life. Sometimes it's cruel, especially in childhood, when you just wanted your dad to hug you and say everything would be okay. It's very hard. Give him one more chance. If he blows it, your conscience will be clear, or maybe you'll get a future you never even dreamed of. Author, no apology, not even the most sincere one, can change the past or undo the damage. My father can't do anything to fix this. Hell, I'm taking medication and in therapy, and even now I sometimes have to consciously choose to live. What could he possibly do that wouldn't seem ridiculous or out of place? Any time spent on him would be a one-way gift for him alone. I don't need anything from him. I don't care whether he's sorry or not. I don't think about him unless someone drags my attention back to him. I have nothing left to say to him. My life got better when I decided he was dead to me, and I see no point in resurrecting him. I think people who would do anything to get a parent back probably had something good in that relationship to hold on to, or would get at least something positive out of it even if things were complicated. I don't have that, and odds are extremely high he'll just find a way to make everything worse. He always did. Music. I wouldn't say you're the asshole, but what's the point? He failed, yes, but he went through something enormous. 2 close family members got cancer and died. That's very hard. Not everyone can withstand that. Now he's lost his only remaining child. Do you really want to carry this bitterness all your life? Online people easily advise you to cut everything off, but why not at least try to restore family ties? The point is that I never want to hear about him again. Now, if he has any questions, he knows exactly why I don't want him in my life. He's once again been shown he should stay away from me. I want no ties with him. He can never fix this. I feel 0 positive emotions toward him, and there is nothing he has that I need or want. He's essentially already dead to me, and I don't practice necromancy. Maybe everyone's wrong here. It depends on how persistent your father was. There's a baseline level of politeness it's good to maintain. Creating a multi-slide presentation repeating, "You weren't there for me," over and over is a pretty heavy blow to someone trying to reconnect. If he didn't understand simple words, maybe he did need to see it presented that way. But if this was just a single attempt on his part, the last slide was harsh and clear enough already, and the whole presentation in that case seems excessive. Either way, he was an asshole for neglecting you, and your feelings are entirely valid. Everyone in his family knows I cut contact completely and take it very seriously. My maternal grandparents only told me about his reaching out because they assumed he might try another way to contact me and didn't want it to blindside me. Even attempting to contact me is an insult that shows he still doesn't understand or respect my feelings. If this makes him never try again to break the distance I set, then the goal is achieved. If I ever change my mind, I'm fully capable of reaching out myself. There's only one thing required from him: stay away. It's not entirely clear whether you expressed your feelings before going no contact. Not explaining the reason seems odd. I tried many times to talk about his neglect of me in my early teens, but by about 15, I realized it was absolutely pointless. Also, by then I was determined to leave this life, and I knew that if I started talking about how I felt, they'd just lock me up in a psych ward. At some point, I just stopped talking about it to anyone. Cutting ties without warning was partly because I saw no point, and partly because I was sure my next attempt would be successful, and didn't want to do it at home. Fortunately, right after I cut contact with my father, things got a bit less awful, and I finally got real help instead of the constant "just accept it." Having read Opie's replies, I'm changing my verdict to "you're not the asshole." The phrase "practically ceased to exist" perfectly describes my state. I had birthdays with no dad and stepmom at home. They didn't even call me. No one came to my school event. We didn't spend holidays together. One summer I was gone for a whole week and my dad didn't even notice I'd left. When I tried to talk to him, he just said, "Accept it." So yes, it would have been better if he had died and I had lived with my grandparents full time. Then at least I could have pretended my dad would have been there if he could. Neglect is serious, but were there other problems besides that and the stepmom being bad? It seems like your dad was in a nearly impossible situation when your brother was diagnosed with cancer. It's hard to have other problems when the person simply isn't there and barely remembers you exist unless you get in trouble. That went on for years. My mom was dying in a hospital. Even in that state, she always found a way to show me she loved me. My dad couldn't even call or leave a birthday note for 5 years. You're not the asshole. It seems your father not only pushed you away, but also deprived you of a relationship with your brother. You don't need someone like that in your life. Yeah, the worst thing is I actually loved my brother very much. He was always a sweet kid. Even with a terrible stepmother, I liked being his older sister. And the only thing I truly regret after leaving home is that we couldn't spend time together. I always hoped he'd get better, and we could grow closer when he got older. And before we finally get to the update, I'd like you to share your thoughts in the comments about this story as well. Do you think the author was wrong to make such a presentation for her father? Or did she do the right thing? My opinion, making the presentation was right, but not giving her father any chance at all is somewhat wrong. However, who am I to lecture someone who's been through all that? I haven't. Now to the update. Update 1. Over Christmas break, I talked to my paternal grandparents and showed them the presentation. They had no idea things were that bad or that I was close to doing something to myself at the time. The accidents I had as a teenager weren't accident. While they think my reaction was overly harsh, they now understand my position much better. They acknowledge that my father seriously messed up and that the family should have been much more involved in my life, not just supporting my father and brother. From the outside it looked like I was fine. If they'd known what's in my journal, they would have insisted my father get help immediately. They still want me to reconcile with him, but understand it may already be too late. So they agreed not to mention him until I want to, and not to pass along any information either way. So the talk was productive. As for my father, I know many of you think I'll regret it if I don't reconcile or forgive him, but I don't think you're right. I've tried many times to imagine a conversation with him that wouldn't make things worse, and I can't. Best case, he apologizes and grovels. Honestly, that would probably make me hate him even more. Worst case, nothing changes, and I'd have to leave before I end up charged with assault. I also can't imagine any real benefit from having him in my life, so reconnecting feels like huge work with no payoff. As for forgiveness, I'm not sure I'm capable of it at all. Indifference, maybe. As far as I know, he's alive. I've made it crystal clear to everyone that anyone who tries to pass me info about him without my asking will also be cut out of my life, so there probably won't be further news. I'd prefer to just forget his existence again. As for me, I'm probably as okay as I can be. I go to therapy and take meds. From the outside, I almost always look like a fairly functional person. I made a deal with myself to at least wait until my maternal grandparents pass, so I don't hurt them, and so I can take care of them. So now I'm trying to find another reason to live. Maybe it'll be out of spite toward my father. Update 2. It's hard to hold on. To be clear, I'm not in danger. I promised myself to stay here a while longer, and I'm not going to break that promise. I refuse to make impulsive decisions, but it's been really hard lately. I don't even know what's worse. Suffering so much it feels like I can't take another second, or just feeling nothing, like I'm wandering in a flat gray endless meaningless void. I'd probably prefer pain and rage, anything, over emptiness. I feel like I'm just treading water. People would be surprised to hear this because I'm doing well at work. I'm finishing my last semester of my master's. I volunteer at an animal shelter. Compared to many others, I'm doing great, but all of it is just a way to kill time while the countdown runs. Today I spent time with a dog I'm helping to socialize and finally managed to pet her. I felt nothing. The staff say I have a talent for helping abused animals. I think it's because I understand how they think and what they need to calm down. But I never leave the shelter feeling any different from when I arrive. It just kills time and is more productive than staring at a screen. At least the animals live and, hopefully, get happier, even if happiness itself is unavailable to me. This last month has been especially exhausting, so much so that at times it showed, and my boss even asked if I was okay. Family drama. I was told I'm a cold, cruel monster. I don't doubt it. I'm just very tired. I don't want to live like this, but I also don't want to leave pain behind, and it's starting to feel like avoiding that won't be possible. So maybe it's about choosing the lesser evil. I don't know what the point of any of this is. I just wanted to share with strangers on the internet. Sorry for the stream of consciousness. Update 3. I got a letter. Today a letter arrived at my university department. No sender name. But even after all this time, I recognized the handwriting on the envelope. My first impulse was to burn it unread, because I've already set a clear, hard boundary. The letter is just another slap in the face. I see no point in even giving it a chance. On the other hand, there are a couple of practical reasons to maybe hand it to someone else. For example, if it's a suicide note, then his parents and law enforcement should see it. What would you do in my place? Destroy the letter? Read it yourself? Or pass it to a family member? Update 4. I'm done. To the idiot who leaked my account to my biological father. Screw you. I don't know who you are, but I hope something truly awful happens to you. I wrote here because my therapist suggested I tried talking to people who've been through something similar, but to hell with all of this. I should have known even coming here was too risky. Thanks to everyone who talked to me and tried to help. I won't be posting here anymore. That's all. I'm waiting for your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching this video to the end. Also check out our previous video. You'll see it right here, and good luck to you.